This is a book review of two books which I'm doing subtopical. One is Amenable Women by Mavis Cheek, and the other one is Good Things I Wish You by Manette Ansay. And the reason I decided to do these two books together is because of the premise that I liked, the historical women versus the modern women, as well as the common ground between them, but also because they involved the arts as a field of study too, that is painting and classical music, which is part of the subject of humanities and sociology combined. And this concept I found fascinating. The synopsis for both of these I'll leave on my blog for you to see. So I'll get straight into what the main characters are. The main characters are modern women, are teachers. So the impression that you get from the books regarding their personal relationships is often that they self rebuke themselves. I mean, I should know better, and that's picked up on a lot of their attitudes, and it's very much underlying of a self-annoyance that runs through both of the books. Therefore, it follows that the tone of each book hits a slightly different note when reading, because in Amenable Women it comes across as self-indulgent a little, whilst in the book the impression you get of the Good Things I Wish You, it comes across as sort of the absent by default. You don't get as close as you want to. She keeps you at arm's length quite a lot of the book. But that in itself weren't bad things, for in consideration it felt right for both books in their ambience. Because both books had that element of wishful thinking that something else was different about their lives. And also that the feeling was sort of like the residue sort by a reader thinking that by the time you finish the books, there was a kind of non-acceptance about the characters' situation and of themselves. I'll go on further to say that basically I did enjoy them. I got a lot out of them than I would have thought. But I would have to pick up on a point that I would like to make. In the book Amenable Woman, she keeps referring to the Flanders Mare of Anne of Cleves, specifically on page 176, which she makes it that she thinks in a historical context it's an insult to be called that. But if she had done, as an author, a bit more research, she would have found out that it's associated in the biblical text. And it comes from Songs of Solomon, where in verse 1.9 he states, with regards to what he's talking about to a woman, or about a woman, like my mare. And it alludes to a sexual allegory to that of symbolizing at the time in the Orient that the figure and nature of a horse was not a beast of burden, but the cherished companion of kings. And you can say that this clue was given in the action of Anne of Cleves with her closeness to Henry VIII, on which she engraved on her wedding ring the words, "God send me well to keep." And Henry VIII made good on that vow, and she gave Anne of Cleves him good tidings, or glad tidings, as by her duty that she stood by him. So Anne of Cleves at the end of the day was cherished. So there was no need for the author to have that self-righteous indignation, unless for her it just made good reading, instead of doing any kind of redress. Also, I got a lot out of these books, because in addition to all this, in the dialogue and the narrative, it was very interesting, but for different reasons. That is, in the Amenable Women, Anne Cleves has her own voice, which is italicized, while Flora has her own thoughts to share, and what she doesn't say, because she feels self-conscious, she says something else instead, and this is written line by line in the left to right format. Whilst in Good Things I Wish You, it's different. As you see in the video here in the pictures that I've posted, for Clara, Schumann has her letters and pictures and fictional thoughts, but Jeanette also has different kinds of dialogue, which that conveys a twinned understanding from them both intellectually, as you can see by the vertical column of the speech, without any need for the precise techniques of you say this first and then I'll follow with my thoughts, and then we'll strategically patterned like a horizontal conversation as written in books such as Amenable Women, which is a horizontal conversation, not a two-columnar conversation. And this sort of two-columnar conversation is basically the style of common talk, which can be authenticated as an approach of communication which is termed poetic duels. As stated, not all performances are produced by individuals. That is, some are more dialogic in form and are evaluated by audiences accordingly. For in one sense it can be seen as a collaborative performance embracing canonical instances, and in almost all cases the performers display their skills in a range of ways, including cultural allusions, intertextual reference and poetic parallelisms. And this particular aesthetic value of the performance, and in particular the enhancement conferred on the listener or reader, is the essential cooperative spirit of the interaction, the mutuality of the performances, together with the fact that the performers are channels for the culture rather than innovators of the culture. And Bowen suggests that the dialogic nature of the dueling presents an idealized and socially salient image of social interaction. That was found on page 45 of Language and Creativity, The Art of Common Talk by Ronald Carter, published by Rutland in 2004. But going on from this, I mean, that was really interesting as part of a book. But what also shocked me, which really shocked me, was certain passages in the book which wasn't the twist, although it can the turn of events was unexpected for me reading it anyway. And I never saw them coming, which was two instances which I would call brutal, barbed, and could hotly be contested by psychotherapists as to what the root causes were, for it must be a common feeling if these passages end up in books and taken for granted, but really shouldn't be, because they seem to be festering unchallenged, and I think needs to be addressed, which is what was written in Amenable Woman, was in a paragraph on page 114. It was what Pauline Pike, otherwise known as Pink Lips, was thinking, these particular thoughts, which read, Flora Chapman was in Paris, not she, and that hurt. In fact, it made her see red. Having a married lover was quite a challenge, and she had expected some kind of reward for it. But no, nothing. Gone, gone, gone. And then that woman, who she and Edward giggled over, calling Bunface, had the cheek to say that she had a lover anyway, or the possibility. She didn't deserve one. She did not. And Pauline Pike, who worried away at the information as if it were an itchy scab, it did. Whereas in the Good Things I Wish You, in that book on page 178, it was a passage between Carl, Jeanette's ex-husband, and herself, which went, Sometimes he reminds me of you, I said. The way he likes to talk about things, the way he likes to debate, the way he holds himself aloft. In a moment I'd say that too. So I said, but what about you, your girlfriend? I mean, tell me what she's like. Even though I was looking right at him, I never saw it coming. Carl put down his empty cup. She's absolutely nothing like you. Do you think I would make that same mistake twice? I mean, when I read that, I thought, oh no, wow, oh my God. All the rest of it came out. I mean, I had to put the books down at that point and uttered
a complete surprise expletive. I really did, because it was in the Amenable Woman, it had all the hallmarks of the term misgender, that is, an exhibited hatred of one's own gender, a woman to a woman in this case. And also although in Good Things I Wish You, it had all the hallmarks of male inadequacy. I mean, that self-loathing of another person's capabilities and feelings. I mean, oh wow, it was just, oh, I've got to put the book down. But I did pick it up and finish the book eventually. So overall, I think these are good books to read both back to back and not just as standalone novels, even though they could be. I think they're suited as companion novels due to the if you want to explore the deeper social issues. For I could see that as being a very good book for women's studies academically. For example, comparing the historical women as opposed to those of the modern women and how they think of themselves. And I'll give a more of an in-depth review on my blog, which I think these books make a very good consequential and significant for the reader, as they also have those keywords regarding how women wanted to be viewed by society, both in historically and in modern times as we live them. And I got a lot more out of these books than I thought I would, even though they're not very long. I took a lot out of them, really did. So thank you for listening. Bye.